Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Energy Fuels. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have been tracking this idea of a 1-2 setup where now we would like to see a third wave unfold to even higher prices. So far so good, we see some nice strength, some nice developments within this area, but for this to be a reliable wave 3 we would have certain expectations, and that would be reaching the ideal target for such an extension, such a wave 3, which is at around the $130 level, yeah? The 138.2% extension of the wave 1 is the ideal target for said wave 3. Now, since we have already formed within this structure even the wave 3, and we have only gotten to the 78.6% extension of the wave 1, there is a very good chance something else might be going on. And it's not to say it's impossible to still reach the ideal target of the wave 3, even if this is to form only a fifth wave to the upside, which, by the way, is the last wave we expect within this uptrend, if this is to complete the structure. And it's even possible to track this as an internal wave 3, where this would have been itself a 1-2 setup, but it's not necessarily going to be the most likely interpretation. There are other structures we would need to be prepared for once we will have a full count, because this so far is the likely portion of any uptrend really. If we form an initial 5-wave move to the upside, we expect a 3-wave correction into the area of support, and then at the very least another 5-wave move to the upside. But once that is done, we really do not require anything else to consider certain patterns full, and we are not here to predict which pattern is unfolding. We are here to track the likely portions, to look for the high probability interpretations and structures, and to profit from them. So, other options could include forming another 1-2 setup. Instead of forming the wave 3 in a direct fashion here, we could be looking to form only an internal wave 1 part of an even larger wave 3. This would have long-term bullish implications, certainly even more bullish than pushing directly in this fifth wave to the ideal target and completing the wave 3 in a direct fashion, because we would then have the same way. We have here a 1-2 setup, an internal 1-2 setup, and we would be looking for an even stronger wave 3 to unfold, and then we would be looking even for yet another fourth and a fifth to complete only this wave 3, yeah, which the ideal target initially was at the $130 level. It might see a severe extension in such an expectation. But at the same time, that is not the only possibility. In fact, if I were to consider this a corrective pattern, a zigzag in an ABC structure, the ideal target for the wave C is the 100% extension of the wave A, which is around the $46.7 level. That is, in fact, very much in range with our fifth wave, and it is an ideal target, the 100% extension, but it certainly doesn't need to get there, and it really doesn't even need to stop there. So we would be watching for this supposed wave C to get somewhere into that area. We would be tracking the internal structure for a better estimation, for a better idea of when we should expect the pattern to be full. But this actually brings in some additional risk, because sure, for a wave 1 up to form within this area internally, we would expect a decently sized correction in wave 2. If this is to form an ABC structure, we could be looking either at a larger wave 1 part of a leading diagonal, and then we would be looking for an even more severe correction in a wave 2, but potentially, from a large time frame perspective, we could be looking even at a larger wave A down, and have this as an ABC structure within a wave B, and then look for a larger ABC structure that could even take us to new lows. Ultimately, within most interpretations, we expect a more substantial correction to occur. In all interpretations, except for where we would form the third wave in a very direct fashion, we would expect a more substantial correction to occur. But the silver lining is that within all interpretations, we expect to at least push here to higher prices within this fifth wave. This has been the likely portion of this uptrend. This is why we have been regarding this area of support we have provided for a wave 4 correction ever since we topped within this wave 3 as a high probability area, as a trade setup, as an accumulation area for the next wave to the upside after the 3-wave correction. This has worked out very, very nicely, and we seem to be still forming this fifth wave to the upside, and I would have no issues continuing to track this expectation. Now, before we move into the smaller time frame, I wanted to briefly mention our channel newsletter, where you get access to our monthly top picks. The link for sign up is in the description. It is completely free. And if you enjoy the content and you want to support the channel, you can check out our channel membership. The link for that is in the description as well. Or you can click the join button below and you will get access to a couple of cool perks, including exclusive member content. Now, for the full story on both the newsletter and the channel membership, I recommend that you watch the channel update video. It's on the homepage, or by clicking the join button, you will also have the channel update video pop up. And it's a really short video, it's just a 5-minute watch, but it should provide you all the details. Now, back to the chart. In the smaller time frame, we already have some ideas. We have already been tracking this entire structure. And here we have been looking at an initial potential 1-2 setup. This wave 1 can actually work out as an impulse. We are considering this idea as long as we hold the internal levels of support for the blue interpretation. But this hasn't necessarily been the highest probability trade setup we have been tracking within this structure. And we even had a potential 3-wave pattern within this area. We still didn't have strong confirmations, but in the smaller time frame within this supposed wave 3 in blue, we had here an internal initial 5-wave move to the upside within this wave 1. This has been regarded as a high probability area of support because firstly, it was within our larger area of support in green, our accumulation zone. Secondly, it had clearly defined levels of support that needed to hold for this to extend to higher prices, and we were looking for the ideal target for the wave 3 to only be at the $18 level. This has far exceeded. We have seen a substantial extension internally in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside. Yeah, you can notice the 5th wave is even stronger than the wave 3 itself in the case of this interpretation. But for this structure to still remain valid, we would now need to hold here the 50% retracement. We have already pushed below this area of support a couple of times, but nothing substantial yet. Nothing that wouldn't let me still track this idea of a 5th wave potentially still forming to the upside. Now, here's the thing though. If we only form a short and simple wave 5 to the upside within this area in something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get the larger wave 3 complete, and we get another wave 4 correction, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we might not necessarily get to the $46, $47 level, the ideal target for the wave C, but if we get an extension within this wave 5 or the next one, we might be looking to even exceed that. Now, once again, for this to remain a valid interpretation, we must hold here the 50% retracement. We have already pushed into the last level. We really do not want to see another low within this area. And if we do, it's not that we cannot continue to track this movement to the upside to higher prices and complete a 5th wave in green in this area, but it would probably have to be within this yellow interpretation, where we would be tracking instead an ending diagonal within this 5th wave, where we would have an ABC within a wave 1, ABC within a wave 3, and we would be tracking an ABC within a wave 5, and that would be it. We would not expect any additional continuation to higher prices. So far, I'm still focusing primarily on the blue interpretation, and in the previous video, actually let me remove these first, we have been tracking, and let me hide these larger structure initially, we have been tracking a potential initial 5-wave move to the upside. I will keep the yellow interpretation hidden for now, but remember, we are looking at the $17.7 as the level we are looking for continuation to higher prices against. We would ideally hold the 50% retracement in blue, but the 61.8% retracement in yellow is the last level of support for continuation to higher prices. Now, I want to keep this hidden because I want it to be more visible for the smaller time frame. And here we have been tracking a quite generic area of resistance in orange for a possible extension in the yellow structure in a potential ABC pattern. Doesn't need to be within the yellow structure, could also be a failure within both interpretations that we are tracking in orange. But we were looking in the previous video for an extension to higher prices within a 5th wave in this area. I believe I have even provided an area of support in the previous video for this idea, for a 5th wave to unfold, and we were looking for a leading diagonal to be built within this area. We have done that very nicely. On the 11th of February, we started with this push into a new high, possibly completing an initial 5-wave move to the upside and forming a new swing high within this area. Now, I won't be keeping this internal count anymore, but I will be tracking a larger initial 1-2 setup that could allow us to already look for the 5-wave pattern within a 5th wave. Now, this is suggesting to us with some degree of confidence, because it is still within a very small time frame, but with some degree of confidence that we may be looking for an impulse to form within this area, that we should expect at least another 5-wave move to the upside, if not something like a 5th wave to form. And this is no guarantee that it will succeed, but I will be watching an internal area of support for continuation to higher prices within this expectation. And for this, we have the levels between the $22.1 all the way down to the $20.3 level. We have already pushed into the last level of support, and as long as we don't have a reset, I'm still looking for this 3rd wave to potentially occur, or at least, let's say, an ABC structure here in this orange interpretation. We still have this area of resistance present, and below the $20.3 level, I would expect even the 50% retracement to fail, and to eventually need to shift completely to this yellow structure where, yeah, we will be looking for an extension. And I can even provide you an ideal target for the new extension right now, which is the 100% extension of this, let's say, supposed wave A to the downside we would have within this area. And that would be even below the last level of support, the $16.7 level. Now, keep in mind, we don't need to get there. We might still end up holding the area of support in yellow, even if the blue structure is failing, but we now have relevant levels of support to track internally. I would expect at least a 5-wave move to the upside to form, but do not take this as a guarantee. This is just probabilities as long as we hold here the last swing low we have currently within this wave 2. And some ideal targets we could be tracking for our expectations here. The 138.2% extension of the wave 1 is the ideal target. For the wave 3, the $26.8 level, and then the 100% extension of a wave A. Here, the $24.8 level would be the ideal target for a wave C. That would still be very much within the area of resistance, quite in line with these structural resistance levels we have formed within this area previously. Yeah, we also have some here at a 61.8% retracement and some additional swing highs that have formed more substantial tops within this area. Yeah, but for now there really isn't much else to add. This pattern is still information. I wouldn't look into a smaller time frame just yet, but the way I see it, this wave 2 is potentially complete. We have a 3-wave pattern that has formed to the downside within this area, and we really do not need any additional extensions to even lower prices. And these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.